So thanks for hitting up the channel, folks. I'm Andy, your Electric Geek, and today we're going to be speaking to another YouTuber that's a good friend of the channel, and that is Keith from Euphoria Pictures. Now, if you're not already aware of Keith's channel, of course you'll find all the relevant links in the description, but we are going to be speaking to him for over an hour today. This video had been in the making for about 6 months. It was initially going to be like a live stream, but in the end we decided, let's keep it concise. We'll record it. It's a bit less formal that way. There's less kind of nervous energy and it'll maybe play out a bit more naturally. But I think the conversation went really well. I thoroughly enjoyed speaking to Keith. As I say, his channel has amassed over 8,000 subscribers. If you haven't come across him, he mainly covers like 4K reviews and he does high quality unboxings of big ticket items. So you like your Film Arena box sets, Titans Occult. My mind's going blank, but those kind of more premium, steelbooks and 4K collector's editions. If you're into that, hit up Keith's channel. But in this video, we're more going to be kind of peeling away at what makes Keith tick and how the channel came to light. And ultimately that's through his obvious passion for physical media and collecting. So we'll be talking about that, what kind of got him started. I'll even be asking him, what is the number of your collection? And I'll tell you, I was shocked at just how many movies he has across the various different formats. And then we'll kind of round out with Keith giving some tips for people maybe just trying to start a physical media collection or people that already have one who are trying to build upon it. And he gives kind of tips for how to save money, and he ultimately gives a recommendation on his demo disc at the end, which I found to be pretty interesting and a bit left field. So be sure and stay to the end of the video for Keith's pretty unusual demo disc. But just before we dive into the conversation, I'm going to play the intro to Keith's channel just in case you haven't come across him, and you'll get a wee feel for just how fantastic Keith's collection is. So check this out. Keith, great of you to join us on the channel. It's something I've been looking forward to for a while. I know off camera we've been saying this has been a long time coming. We kind of flirted with the idea of live streams and stuff, but alas, we're doing this kind of like not live recording thing. But it's great to have you here, mate. So just for anyone that doesn't like know you or came across the channel, just kind of introduce yourself, mate, and tell us a little bit about you and your YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, my YouTube channel is called Euphoria Pictures, and I kind of dabble in a bit of everything. Where I like doing 4K reviews. A lot of my videos take up 4K reviews. But as you can see behind me, I absolutely specialize in collectibles. That's the kind of rarity factor. I have an incredibly rare collection, and that's what I specialize in. It's what I've been like this since I started working. I always into the kind of the rarer side of collecting. Always wanted to get that special version, no matter what the movie is. I always wanted to get the most rarer version of that movie. And it's kind of continued onto my collection for all these years now, for nearly 30 years. So yeah, if you're kind of interested in seeing kind of rare items, I think I'm the channel to go to.
Yeah, some pretty awesome stuff that I can see. I've been following your channel for a while, Keith, as you know, but there's some pretty awesome stuff even in that little window that we can see behind there. But that's like the tip of the iceberg for your collection, for anyone that's not seen any of Keith's videos.
It's one of those things that I could almost each side of this room, I could actually just turn this chair around, and like for instance on the right hand side of me, it just looks equally as impressive as what's behind me. It's just each wall in this room is just even now when I'm sitting here, I'm sitting in this room now over a year, and I'm still marveling at what I'm sitting around. I still can't believe that I have what I have in this room. I'm still pinching myself. It's the stuff dreams are made of.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I'm just kind of starting all that. Like I've collected physical media for probably about 20 years, but very casually. And it's probably only not pretty much since starting the channel that I really kind of knuckled down. So it's amazing to see someone like yourself who's been collecting probably about the same length of time, but has been doing it dedicated and actually amassed, not giving stuff away, sold stuff like I have. It's like a full history of stuff you've got there.
It's amazing. It's just something like I can never let go of a title. I can never it's no matter how bad it is, and I have some bad movies. But you know what? I'm one of them people that I live with my mistakes. Just because I hate the movie, it doesn't mean that someone in my family doesn't like it. So at least it's there for them.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in the
You know?
video. Yeah, I think that's a romantic idea, and I get that. You know, like the idea of like, you know, you take the rough with the smooth, you take the stinkers with the good. But for me, I think it's just I'm kind of starting again like Collection 2.0. So for me, my kind of we'll talk about codes and kind of rules later on, like that you hold yourself to, Keith. But for me, I'm kind of like, if I feel I'm not going to watch it again, you know, if I've bought it and I've enjoyed it and they've been kind of best quality, if it's 4K or Blu-ray, and I've watched the features and I think, all right, I enjoyed my time with that, but reality is I am not going to ever go back there. Then that's the water test for me, and then I'll get rid of it, but only so that I can put something else that I do love in its place. So that's my kind of like,
one of the reasons to why I don't, and I'll tell you, and it's funny enough, I actually featured this movie in that video that you done, your 100 episode, where I mentioned for my favorite sci-fi movie, I had Event Horizon. Now, what I didn't say in that segment was when me and my fiance went to see that movie in the cinema, we thought it was one of the worst things we've ever seen. I thought it was absolute garbage, and I bought it on DVD, and I watched it on DVD. I still thought it was garbage, and I just stuck with it. There was something about it that kept me going back and back and back, and now it's, like I said to you, my favorite sci-fi movie of the 90s. You know, so that's probably why I don't get rid of anything, because there is. I pride myself in giving a movie a second go, and you know, the thought of actually missing out on a good movie because I didn't like it the first time just doesn't sit well with me.
That's an interesting idea. You see that, I suppose there's almost maybe if a movie sits on your shelf for so long, even though you thought it was crap, then you maybe build up like a bit of nostalgia and a bond for that copy because you see it all the time, and then maybe that makes you want to like, well, let's give it another chance, you know, that kind of thing. So I suppose that is an interesting way to.
Now, don't get me wrong, there is then movies as well. You know, I think Black Christmas, the recent remake of Black Christmas, where I'm just waiting for a good Frisbee day to actually use the disc on that. You know, there is movies; they're not all winners. You know, there's some of them don't have potential, and that's definitely one of them. You know, that's one.
Okay.
If it somehow kind of disappeared out of my collection, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
So you've said you've been collecting for a while. Like, can you remember what was your first kind of like maybe moment? What was the point what got you in love with films, or you know, and watching films in the home kind of thing? What was your earliest kind of memory?
Yeah,
You're a horror man, aren't you?
I think everyone can relate to it. Like everyone had, you know, them moments with your father, and it's always your father. It's never your mother. It's always your father. And yeah, I said this before on a stream. I remember one day kind of sitting there and The Exorcist came on. I think I was around 8 years old. And I think any normal father today would be like, go to bed. No, my father was like, hey, son, sit here beside me, enjoy this movie. And I must have been as white as a ghost when the movie finished. It was just, I was kind of looking at my father and I was like, why did you make me watch that? You know? And I think it was kind of like, he almost got a kick out of it. But it's kind of like, you know what, when my father showed me that movie, anything else after that was going to be okay. If I could live with that movie, then, you know, and I think that's what he was maybe thinking at the time. And yeah, I always had that memory of, yeah, watching that movie. And then there's another memory that I had. It was Terminator 2. And we still to this day do not understand how this happened, but a neighbor of ours got a pirate of that movie. Now, when I say a pirate, it was the perfect copy. You know,
Right.
it was, you know, it's like a top quality VHS quality at the time. And I remember our neighbor coming in at 10 o'clock at night, you know, and we had to be in bed at probably around 10:30. And actually, we probably were meant to be in bed before that. And he just came in with this pirate copy of Terminator 2. And I remember begging my father, can we stay down and watch it? And he was like, absolutely. And the whole house just came down. And we watched Terminator 2. I think we started at around 10:30. And it just blew the socks off us. It was actually, and when I see a pirate copy, it was nearly a month before it actually came out in the cinema. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I was
Like,
going to ask you. I was going to say, was it ahead
yeah,
of the actual cinema
yeah,
release?
it was well ahead of it. Like, we couldn't believe it. It was, I don't even think James Cameron had the movie finished. We had a pirate of it. It was just incredible. It was, and that was it. It's just that it just built from there. It was just love at first sight. I think when it comes to movies,
That's awesome.
and I think my father has a large role in that.
It was actually my dad likes his films as well, but it was actually my granddad. He had a big VHS collection, and when we used to stay there, like weekends, when mum and dad would be working or going out for a bit of time for themselves. They liked a tipple, my gran and grandpa, and they were old school, so they didn't pay any attention to like certificates and stuff, you know. So whatever they were watching that night, it was just a case of like, just pull up a pew, son, and just watch that. You know, 6 year old and you're watching like the
It's
Terminator
great.
and RoboCop and all
It's
these
great.
like 18s, and you're sitting there and you're like, your eyeballs like can't digest what you're actually watching. But I tell you what, see, mate, if I had watched The Exorcist at 8 year old, like I would not be having this conversation with you just now. I would not be a stable enough human being to like. I would have
Well,
like I'd have been in a mental institution or something. I wouldn't have said. I mean, I only watched The Exorcist because I'm not a big horror man, Keith, as I think you know.
yeah, of course.
But
You were telling me before.
I'm trying to like become more cultured and trying to like because I actually want to watch horror, but I'm just a bit of a feary basically, and I don't like jump scares and stuff. So that's why I've
Yeah,
always
that's fair
avoided
enough.
them. Because I always think like when I watch a film, I want to enjoy it and chill and all the rest of it. I don't want to be watching a film like stressed and terrified about when I'm going to be scared,
That's fair
scared
enough.
shitless for lack of a better
Like,
expression. But
no, I get that.
I'm old enough and ugly enough now, and I'm in the YouTube space and stuff. So I thought, right, I can't be cutting about having not seen The Exorcist and like these like pillars. So I only watched The Exorcist like about a year ago or so, and I
And
found
how
it
did you find it?
scary. I really enjoyed it, but I found it.
Right.
I did find it chilling and scary, even though I'm watching it now in 2021 or something. Great
Yeah,
film, really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not something maybe in time, but I don't think when I watch horrors I'll probably go back to them. I think I survived them once, take them in, and I don't really need to watch it again or own it maybe. But I'm
yeah,
glad I did watch it, and I'm slowly picking my way through other stuff. But no, I can totally relate. My mum and dad used to get stuff from Blockbuster Video or Ritz as it was at the time, and with a glass panel door, and I used to sneak down the stairs, you know, and like try and watch. I couldn't hear it or anything, but I just wanted to like see because they told me you can't watch it because it's too violent. So I'm like, oh, is that right? So I'm tiptoeing down the stairs and like trying to watch it. So yeah, that was my kind of a similar kind of start
yeah.
to you, mate. But
Like, it was easy. It was easy, kind of watching the horror films with my father. Like that. That was fine. It was the comedies of the time. That's when it started feeling a bit awkward. Like sitting down with your father and watching Porky's. That's a whole different thing altogether. You
that's
know,
a really
that's like walking in on your parents. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
very uncomfortable to sit
I get
down and
that.
watch a movie like that. You know, watching like the likes of Animal House and comedies like that back in the 80s. So the horrors were easy. The comedies were difficult. You know, it was kind of like, yeah, I think I'll go to bed and I'll watch this by myself tomorrow.
Maybe if
Like
I'd
that
watched
kind of
more,
thing.
I'd say I don't think my mum quite liked them horrors, but I think my dad's similar to me, a scaredy cat. So, but I think
Mm,
maybe if I'd watched them younger with my dad or another adult, then it would have been easier because you get that like crutch of like, oh, I'm with an
absolutely.
adult. Uh, but yeah, when I'm watching them now, I still feel like that scared little boy without an adult because I'm the adult and I'm supposed to be able to
I
manage it.
get it. No,
But yeah,
I get it. I get it.
but so as I say, mate, obviously you've got that love and it was born into you early doors with your dad, like on VHS and stuff. But what for you was when you kind of made the decision to start collecting? Was it something that happened casually before you knew what you were collecting, or do you remember it being a? You kind of mentioned it earlier. Did you decide I'm going to start building a rare collection here, or like how did that kind of come about?
No, that's I love this story because it just takes me right back. It was just a great time of my life. But it was my neighbor. My
Oh,
neighbor, his name was Damien Cattle. Damien Cattle, sorry. And it was just very simple. It was two things. He had a black book and he had a cabinet inside his house. And I remember going into his house one day. He gave me this black book, and it was just everything that he had recorded on VHS written down in this black book, all the movies.
Right.
And it was just all alphabetized, everything like that. And then he had a certain number beside each movie. And at the time, because I was so young, I didn't quite understand what's the number for and this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, I'd tell him what movie I want. And then I went into his house, and then all of a sudden, he just opened this cabinet. And there it was. It was just this just incredible collection of VHS just staring back at you, all beautifully, alphabetized. It was just amazing, all numbered perfectly. And I remember right from there, I think I was only around, wow, I must have been 7, 8 years old. I knew that's what I wanted. I wanted when I get older. It was all recorded for him. It was all recorded stuff, and we started doing that in the house. The whole household was kind of inspired by his cabinet, and we started, but it didn't work the same way because you'll start recording a movie, and then all of a sudden someone won't like the movie that you recorded, so that movie gets blanked, and all of a sudden your black book, you're looking at your black book, and all of a sudden you can see movies scribbled out, and it was just an absolute, it's just an absolute mess. So, I remember saying at a young age that whenever I had the funds and the money, I would start properly collecting VHS, and and that's exactly what I done as soon as I started work.
So it was something that you kind of like premeditated, and then you, even for a young boy, you knew you were gonna do it.
Absolutely, it was. It's just I still remember, even when I'm talking about it, I remember how I felt the day he opened that cabinet. It's just this great feeling, and I just wanted to recreate that. And then when it got to the point that where I was able to recreate it, all of a sudden you wanted to take it further, and all of a sudden Extravision, HMV started popping into your head. I was like, you know what? I want something like that. I don't want a cabinet anymore. I want a big open space that you can walk in and spend some time, admiring some of the titles that you see. And so it's yeah.
Are you still in touch? Are you still in touch with that neighbour? Do you have
no, I'm not. And I wouldn't mind. We moved out of that. There was Towns Park, the name of the estate that we lived in. We actually moved around 5 minutes from. It was a 5-minute walk from that estate, and it's amazing what 5 minutes can do. You just completely fall out with them. You just lose touch with them, even though you're only 5 minutes away from them. It's just
because you're not seeing them every day, isn't it? Sometimes
absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, he doesn't know it. He never knew. I would love to meet him someday and say to him, like, look, go onto YouTube, type in Euphoria Pictures. This is all because of you.
Well,
I say he'd be shocked.
That's what I was just thinking. How cool would that be if he stumbles across this video and how awesome would that be? It'd be such a. I'm sure it'll be a shock to him. It would be a shock to him. Because it's a fact. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't have this collection. I don't think I would have. It's probably similar to me with my granddad. Like, he had a very modest collection. I'm talking like, I don't know, 40, 50, fairly mainstream. He was right into Westerns, so he had loads of John Wayne and stuff, and all the kind of contemporary action films of the 80s and 90s, Sly, Yarny and all that. He's largely responsible for. That was the seed was planted with that, that like, oh, this is cool that you can open this up and I see all the spines, and that was your first feeling of like pulling out a VHS, a spine, and appreciating the artwork, like a book in a library. You take out a book and you look at it and it captivates you, and you go, okay, title, artwork, what's this about? Read the synopsis. It's the same with a DVD or a 4K. It's the same idea.
I like the way you brought that up because I strongly relate to that. I showed off, these editions that I have in this collection. They're called one-click editions from Film Arena, and it's basically like I have a Forrest Gump edition where there's 5 versions of Forrest Gump in this one giant box. And people used to always say to me, why do you need 5 versions of that one movie? And I was like, it has nothing to do with the movie. Absolutely nothing to do with the movie. It's to do with all the artwork that you see on all 5 of them editions. They're all different, all incredibly unique. And whether that box set had the discs or not, it wouldn't have mattered. I still would have got it. It has nothing to do with the discs. I already have the movies on 4K. it's the artwork that I'm in love with.
Yeah, that's a good. I was kind of going to ask you that anyway. I mean, you've already gave a really good answer for it, but yeah, because I was thinking like, and I'm not saying this to be facetious or anything, but when you have, because I've got multiple copies of some films, but people might be wondering like, if you've got five or six copies of Forrest Gump on 4K, like how do you, if you want to watch it, how do you choose what one? What one? Do you have a working copy or like?
I do.
Does the one fix?
I have a standard release for it, and that's the one that gets used.
That's
I do not go near that box set. That box set is in a sealed plastic case, and that's where it's staying. Somebody even mentioned it to me the other day. They were saying to me, "Would you not start considering wearing gloves when you're doing your unboxings? Because you can see your fingerprints coming on some of these editions." And when he said that to me, I was kind of going, come on, seriously, that's taking it a bit too far. And then I was in this room the other day, and I got my one-click edition of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and I opened it up to have a look at it. And rest assured, whatever paper that Film Arena are using, it's this soft touch paper they have on some of the releases, that fingerprints really show up on them. And I took that Mission Impossible box set out, I opened it up, and I could actually still see my fingerprints on it. And I actually tried cleaning them off, and I can't get rid of them. So maybe there is it's something I probably should look into, because it's kind of a nine now. When I look at it, I can see it, and I can't get rid of it. No matter what I've done, I cannot remove it.
This guy's poisoned. This guy, albeit he was trying to be, no doubt, help you by saying that, has probably now raised your awareness of it and kind of cussed you in a wee bit. But no, I get
Absolutely.
that. Like, see, I'm a wee bit of a romantic with stuff like that. Like, I don't get too bothered about. I've started buying like covers for my steelbooks because they do scrape so easily. Sometimes I do the unboxing videos on my channel, and then because you're looking through the camera, sometimes I'm like, I'm actually unboxing, looking at the video footage and not the actual steelbook. And then because depth perception goes in that, you end up like actually accidentally maybe scraping it on the table or something. And then I'm kind of like, oh God's sake, I'm trying to like unbox this for people, for other people's benefit, and I've ended up scratching my own copy of it, like in doing so. But there's a bit of me like sometimes I don't mind if stuff gets a little bit dog-eared or a little bit like, because it's mine and that's what makes it unique to me. Now I'm not saying I'm uniquely scoring on my steelbook so that it's different from the other person's, but I don't get too hung up on because it's always got a story. Like that, for example, might sound silly to people, but I know that there's a dink on that steelbook because that was when I was filming it, and there's a story to that because it was an unbox I did, and it's kind of like, so years later when I'm taking that out and someone goes, "Oh, it's got a dink on it," I goes, "Yeah, no, I'll tell you why, because I did a video on it," and blah blah. So it's got a kind of.
I done it one time when I was showing a steelbook, and someone mentioned, I'm always saying that when I'm doing unboxings of steelbooks, I love high gloss steelbooks. I think they look great. But someone mentioned to me, like, the only problem with high gloss steelbooks is fingerprints. You can see them a mile away. So I was doing this unboxing of it, and I think it might have been Scream 2. And I was showing it, and I was like I was praising the steelbook. It was beautiful. And then I turn around and I says, "Now watch what happens when I bend the steelbook against the light. Wait till you see how great this looks." And then as soon as I bent it against the light, all you could see was just 500 fingerprints all over the thing. I was like, I have to start wearing gloves. I have to start wearing gloves, especially this time of year in this room, because there's no ventilation in this room, and it can get very, very warm in here. So, I have to protect these editions. I really do. They're very rare, so they need to be protected.
I've seen a couple of your one-click videos. I've seen that. I'm a bit of a Mission Impossible fan, so I watched your one-click of Rogue Nation. It was gorgeous. I love that movie, and I was pretty envious watching that. But it's great because I might start getting into that stuff myself, Keith, but I'm almost like trying not to because I know that it's a rabbit hole like anything else. But I will do it at some point. But it's great. That's what I like about your channel. Is that for me, it's given me a really good hands-on look from someone who's enthusiastic into something that I maybe can't afford or for whatever reason don't want to do that. But it's given me a look at it, so that's kind of what I enjoy about it. And you collect that much that, and especially now you've got such a catalogue that chances are if I do see something old that I'm maybe looking for on eBay or secondhand, I could probably just jump into your channel, there's a good
Yeah,
chance I'll find it because we've got a
well,
similar taste. So you've maybe got it, and I can have a look at it. And,
absolutely. Like you're talking about rabbit holes, Darren, you're absolutely right. You have to be careful when it comes to collecting. There is rabbit holes that you definitely do not want to go down. I've actually got in contact with a friend of mine who subscribed to me, and he's just recently told me that he's getting into media books, and he kind of mentioned he used that term rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, that's a serious rabbit hole to go down, media books, and he's only bought two, and I can already tell by his text messages that he's already hooked. So I'm
yeah,
kind of curious to see. Thankfully, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole, but Film Arena I have, and it's an expensive rabbit hole to go down.
yeah,
There's no getting around it. It is an expensive rabbit hole. Now, the only thing I will say is people will look at my channel and they'll be looking at some of the collectibles that I show nearly in every one of my videos. But what they don't realize is I don't go out and buy a lot of 4K. Like, a lot of the recent 4K movies that come out, the likes of, I don't know, Ant-Man,
yeah.
even the
Quantumania.
last Black Panther. I have bought none of them movies. I want to see them, but I bought none of them because I'm waiting to get them on the cheap.
Aye.
I am. So I am somewhat, if you, like when people go out and they're buying 8 to 9 movies a week, rest assured, I'm probably buying 8 or 9 movies a month.
Yeah,
Because I'm that hooked into the collecting side of my collection at the moment that
yeah.
I've actually sacrificed that side of collecting. I have, if that makes any sense at all.
No, it totally does. So you're buying quality rather than quantity, kind of thing. So you're
That's
not
there.
like,
That's perfect. That's the perfect. Yeah, perfect.
yeah. And I'm the same, mate. I've not bought. I used to collect all the Marvel films, and I've kind of stopped. One because I'm losing interest, to be honest. I still go and see them in
Yeah.
the cinema, and I subscribe to Disney Plus, and it annoys me that you get like IMAX enhanced and all that. And I think the picture quality of Disney Plus is up there amongst the best with the other
Wow.
streaming platforms. So I've just found it difficult to justify buying 4K Blu-rays of the Marvel films when arguably you can actually watch them better on Disney Plus. And I hate to. I don't mean to be beating on physical media because I love physical media and I'll always collect it as long as it's available. But I'm also a realist. Like I do subscribe to streaming stuff. I check stuff out in streaming. So I'm kind of the same as you, mate. I would rather. I love thrifting. So a big part of collecting for me is like finding stuff in the wild, as people say it. And getting stuff second
Absolutely.
hand cheap. And everybody's got their own thing that they're into, aren't they? Like I like the premium stuff as
Absolutely.
well. I buy some premium stuff and I unbox it and stuff. But
I
I'm
go back. Sorry, I was just talking about buying
no,
premium stuff there. It's funny because I keep going back to that video that you done, and I was like, wow. It was the one video that I watched by you that I sat around and I said, no, I'm obviously inspiring Andy in a certain kind of way when you done that video on the Blade Runner edition. And I
oh,
kind of
that's
looked at
right.
that and I was like, this is great. I'm hoping that we can see more of this from Andy.
I didn't like, and the thing is, and this is genuine. So I'll tell you a story. I don't know if I told you this story, Keith, or if maybe I just told you it through the comments or something. But at the time that I made that video, your channel's obviously been around a while, and that whole battle of the box sets thing, as you know yourself, you did it early on, and then you kind of stopped it. So I jumped on your channel after that, so I hadn't actually seen the battle. So
Oh, wow. Okay, right. Okay.
I'd love to say you did inspire me, but I didn't. You didn't really. But what happened was, I mean, it's not the most original idea. There's people like I'm quite sure someone like I'm not surprised you'd already beat me to it. But so at the time when all that was happening, I just got in touch with John Clancy. So I was starting to email John as we're talking about off camera. He's got a fantastic channel, movie collector.
Yeah.
So we're chatting away, and then I told him, "Oh, my next video is going to be Battle of the Box Sets. It's going to be like a Blade Runner. It's going to be the film vault versus Titans of Cult. Just a different spin on what I do." And then he replied in a massive email, as he does, and he was like, "Oh, I hope you don't upset Keith." Like he jokingly, but he's like, "I hope you don't upset Keith because he did a Battle of the Box Set series and just to make you aware of and that." And then because I like your channel so much, mate, and I respect what you do, it totally like threw me because I was like, "Oh no, like." I can't do that. Like, I don't want to offend them, and I don't want, and I also don't want people to think I'm ripping them off. So I was like, I changed my thumbnail and everything to like, to just be like this against this, and I just put in the title that it was Battle of the Box Sets, because I was like, I know it's so silly now because you probably don't care, and it probably would have been more like,
Oh,
say, you might have thought, you might have been kind of humbled by it if I'd been more on the nose. But yeah, so
well,
that was the story, mate. So I changed that thumbnail for you basically because I didn't want to.
but in all fairness, I do remember saying to you, I texted you back, and I said to you, do not change that bloody thumbnail.
That's right. I remember.
I absolutely was not offended by that. I thought it was great that someone else was doing it. The idea of them videos, I spoke to countless people about them videos. The reason to why I'd done them, it was a great way to interact with my audience. That's what they were designed to do. I never, if you actually watch my videos, the battles, I never turn around and I never said, oh, this one's better than this one's better than that. I left it up to the people. And then it was designed for them to actually leave it in the comment section what they thought was their best. And then when everyone told me what their best was, when I'd done another video, I would come back and then say who was the winner of the previous battle.
Right, okay.
So that's what it was. It was just a way to me to get my audience to interact with me.
Kind of traction. No, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So that was the idea of it, and I stopped doing them because it was a pain in the ass putting them together.
There's a few things. There's a few video series I did, mate, like that I felt were actually going somewhere, but they just were so difficult to maintain that I just sickened myself with it. But yeah, that's another story, mate. This is more about you, so we're not talking about that. But yeah, so we've kind of established, obviously, that you've been collecting for a while, and I can see just from what's behind you there, mate, you've got a lot, and that's probably just like, not even the half of it. So would you be comfortable in telling us kind of like what are we dealing with? What's Euphoria Pictures like count at? Because I know people now, before we start that though, like I don't care about that. I'm quite open that I don't have a massive collection, and I don't try and pretend to people that I do. And I don't think it matters whether you have a massive collection or you have 20 films. If you love those 20 films, and even if they're standard editions, brilliant, because you're collecting physical media, and I can dig that. But obviously, when it's someone like you, mate, that's got loads, people are curious as to like what are we dealing with? What is the size of your collection?
Well, if you were to factor in, it depends on what you want to factor in. If you want to factor in VHS as well, because I actually still have nearly my entire VHS collection as well.
Complete with black book. Recorded off the telly.
With a lot of scribbles in it as well, I might add. I'm getting close to around 10,000.
All in, like that's everything.
All in 10 around. I'd say no. You know what? I'll say maybe closer to 9. I'll say 9, around 9. I think when I check my phone, I have an app on my phone that actually I have my Blu-ray collection and my 4K collection in, and I haven't had the heart to put my DVD collection into it. But just going by my 4K and my Blu-ray collection, I think the count on that was close to 5,000.
Yeah.
So DVDs, I'm presuming, you know what? It probably is close to 10. It's a high number. It is. I don't know how.
I don't think I would even have guessed that. And I've seen a lot of your videos. I've seen the collection, but I appreciate as well there'll be ones that are like a box set. Are you talking about individual films as well?
No,
is that 9,000 individual?
No, if like for instance, if I have a Friday the 13th box set, it'll come up on my app as like 10 movies. So that's the way it's not. I haven't said that. Well, actually, now that I'm looking at my Friday the 13th box set, they actually are actually individual titles in that. So. But yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, if it's if you have like for instance, you have a Nightmare on Elm Street box set that's around that thick, on my app it will come up as like 8 movies.
Right. Okay.
So it's
what app is it you use? That might be something that people are interested in.
I think, as far as I remember, I think it was the bluray.com app that I use.
Yeah, that's the one I use. Yeah.
I think that's the one I use. I have to look into it, but I think it is that one.
Yeah, it's a great app. That one. I keep I've not fully updated I keep the amount of times I've thought, right, let's sit and catalogue all these, and I'm trying to do it with the new ones to save myself, but I haven't done all the ones I already had. But I'm slowly adding to it. But it's a great app for that, because I would imagine. I mean, how do you like kind of? Well, we kind of know that's how obviously you catalogue your movies, but it must be easy to sometimes maybe buy something you already have. Have you done that before? Like you maybe bought something and then realised, oh God, I've already got that.
No, I haven't done it yet. I know so many people that have done it. I've
Yeah,
never
I've heard
done
it.
it. If I bought a double, it's because I want it. It's not
Yeah,
by mistake.
not by mistake.
No, it hasn't happened yet. Amazingly enough, it has not
Yeah,
happened. And that
awesome.
I'm waiting for the day.
And
I'll do a video on it.
how do you kind of manage it then? Like Keith, maybe if you wanted to like how tell us like how do you kind obviously people can see a video and they can see your videos and they can get an idea for how you store things, but has it just been an evolving thing? You know, like as your collection's grown, you've just adapted, be it like moving house and stuff, or you know, finding unique
Well,
storage solutions or stuff, or how do you catalogue it all?
how do I manage it? It's simple. Like I bought this pod. I did. This is not this room that you're looking at that I'm in. This is not attached to my house. This is
Ah,
actually around. This is probably around 20 feet from my house.
right. I've
It's
seen.
right down the back of my garden. So we
Aye.
literally had to buy. Well, we didn't buy this pod to house a collection. It was to get that kind of peace of mind. We wanted to be away from the neighbors. We wanted to be able to come into a room where we could blast movies and not kind of bother the neighbors. But we said, why not? When we bought it, you know, try and get as much as we can into this room. Try and get the bulk of my collectibles and my Blu-rays and 4Ks. So I have this movie room, but then in the house itself, I actually have another movie room. I have a separate movie room in there as well. So it's two rooms holding the bulk of my collection. The VHSs are in the attic, waiting, hoping someday that it was always myself and Ellen, my partner. We want to move out to the country. It's something that we really want to do.
Right.
This pod was plan B. We were meant to move, but it fell through. So
Right.
this was plan B. We got this pod, but we are hoping someday that we will move and get a decent house out in the country where I can take everything out, VHS, everything, and have them all out proudly displayed. I'm hoping someday.
That's obviously so. That's like your end game scenario kind of thing.
And you know what? I pride myself on when I put something, when I fix it, when I put something in my mind to something, I do follow through in it, and I'm hoping that will happen. So as of right now, like I said, my VHS collection is in the attic. There is a lot of DVDs in the attic as well, and I'm hoping someday I can take the whole lot out. That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
I'd known that it was a pod, obviously, because I have you on like Insta and maybe on Insta and like the odd time you've showed a video where you can see the pod at the back garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, when you're sitting in it now, it probably doesn't give a full appreciation for
No.
the kind of size and what it's like inside. But I think that's a great idea for movie enthusiasts, like because these things are so common now, like these like home offices, these like additional rooms outside your house kind of thing. Because I would think I'm thinking about it myself. I mean, it's not something I'll be doing in the near future, but I'm fortunate enough that I've got some space out the back, and it's something I've even thought about. You know, maybe in the future, putting something out there to free up the room that I'm using now, which is really a bedroom, really a downstairs bedroom. But
yeah, like I said, it's great to get the collection in here. But if I'm being completely honest, this room was bought just so we can enjoy movies and just have that peace of mind, not to be bothering anyone. We have a neighbor next door to us, and she's not very nice.
right.
Whenever we watch the movie in the house, she would rap the door. You know, she'd be just constantly badgering us. So it's just one night she came in one day and it just really went off. I don't like confrontations. I really don't like it. I'm not that kind of person. But just this night, it got too much. And I remember just going back into the house and I was like, Ellen, we have to do something. We either have to move or we're going to have to get something put down to the back of the garden. And we tried our best with the move. It didn't happen. And this is plan B. And like I said, it was a good plan B. Yeah. It's even now, I think I've had this room now for over a year. And even Ellen will tell you, she sits in here while watching movies. And there'll be times where, no matter how good the movie is, you can just see the two of us. If someone just walked in, you know, you just see the two of us going like this. We're still at it. We're still looking around the pod and we're kind of going, we can't believe we're sitting in this. Yeah. It's like, there was one day we were kind of just, I don't know what movie we were watching, and it was a really good movie. But all of a sudden, I just started wandering, and then all of a sudden, Ella was wandering, and she was looking over here, and then all of a sudden, the two of us just kind of met, and we're like, "Wow, well, actually, none of us are watching the movie here." You know, it's
Well, I
it's
would imagine.
it's a great
I
thing.
think. See, to be fair, Keith, if I ever found myself in your pod, I think it'd be quite difficult to watch the film because you would like. I would just be marveling at all the stuff that you've got. Do you know what I mean? Because it'll become wallpaper to you. Well, not that's maybe a bit harsh, but it'll become like so accepted because you know it and you see it every day. But someone else in that scenario would just be like, "Oh my god, look at all this stuff," and want to kind of examine it and
it's,
get out
it's,
and look at
it's,
the collections and stuff. Yeah, you probably your heart would be in your mouth when they're taking everything out.
I keep thinking the novelty of it all will wear off, but it's just not wearing off. I don't think it ever will. I hope it never will.
Oh, it's
You know,
great to hear that. It's great to hear that, mate.
yeah,
And
it's
I'm
it's
kind
a
of the
great
same.
thing,
Like,
it really is.
I mean, my collection is so minuscule and uninteresting in comparison to yours, but I still love the items I have. And for anyone watching, and I've said this to my friends and stuff, like I still get enjoyment every other day out of my collection. I might not watch a film for donkeys, but I'll take it out and I'll look at it and I'll read it
Oh
and I'll
wow,
look at the booklet,
I
and I'll be
I
like,
love that.
and I'm still getting value out of that and that's why I own it because I can take it out,
That
I can look at it, I can go, God, I need to watch that again, and then I can put it in the diary and I can watch it one night, or a mate comes round and goes, "Oh, you've got that," like that's awesome. Can I? Yeah, of course you can. And then I'm getting enjoyment out of them enjoying it, So,
yeah,
so that's what it's kind of
I can't.
about.
I really relate to that. I really do. I massively relate to it. See, some people were saying to me before, you see it a lot on YouTube at the moment. And it kind of annoys me a little bit where people are like, you buy a collector set and you get postcards with the collector set and there's stills from the movie and you get behind the scenes stills, you get postcards, all this kind of stuff. And I heard it so many times. I've seen a lot of channels doing it now where they're like, oh, you take them out, you look at them once, and then you put them back again. What's the point? And I was like, well, I'm very different. Where I come in and I'm constantly looking at them.
Yeah,
There's times when I kind of just want to relax. I come in here, I sit in my room, and I kind of look around my collection. I was like, oh Jesus, there's my turbine edition of Frighteners. I haven't opened that up in a while. And then I'll
uh,
just sit here and I'll just open it and I'll just go through it all. And
yeah.
that's what I do. And it does kind of annoy me that people kind of crap on limited editions the way they do. I love them. I can't
What's
stress how much I love them.
what's your take
And
on? Sorry, mate, I didn't mean to
yeah,
interrupt
yeah,
you.
no, that's right.
What's your take on? See, I've also got this kind of view on collector's editions that have the art cards, the posters, and all that. What's your take on like taking them out and using them either in a frame or to turn them into something so that because I know some people might think then, well, you've kind of like you've kind of not defaced it, but you've kind of devalued it because now it's not a complete collection anymore.
Hmm.
I just wondered what your take on that is, because for me personally, I'm kind of the other camp where I'm like, well, if I'm going to buy a collector's edition, I want to use it. Like I might take those posters and put them in a gallery and put them on my wall, and it doesn't bother me that they're not inside the box set because I can see them every day and I'm getting enjoyment out of them another way. And if I'm buying a collector's set of a film I really love, I'm probably never getting rid of it. So I don't have to worry about resale. I'm just
Absolutely.
worried just wondering what your kind of like take is on that.
Right. Well, me personally, yeah, I don't deface my box sets. I don't take
Right.
anything out of them. And I tell you now, Andy, and this is no bullshit. It's nothing to do with value. This has nothing to do with me saying, oh, in 30 years' time, this
This
box
is
set is going to be worth so and so, because just like you, it'll never be sold.
uh,
It's just the collector. The collector in me will not allow me to take out anything from the box set. I've heard so many people have said it to me before. Uh, what was it? Uh, I have a lovely edition of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I done a video on it where I bought the collector set and I bought the steelbook edition of it as well. I bought two of them, and someone turned around and said, "Why don't you take out the standard edition inside the box set and put the steelbook into it, and it'll make it a deluxe release?" And I was like, "No, I can't do that. I cannot do that, and not because it's not true. It's It's not how that set is intended to be. And again, just the collector in me just will not allow me to do it.
Yeah, I
It's
get that.
looked up. Having said that as well, like you were saying there as well, about taking out postcards and posters and then framing them. Now, in all fairness, if I tried to do something like that, I'd probably need around 30 pods, you know, to try and frame all them. You know? So it's
I didn't mean as such that you should do that with every single. But yeah, I just wondered what if there was one you really liked and it was a cracking poster and you thought,
absolutely,
I love that on the wall. Would you? You've answered the question now, obviously. But would you be able to part with it from the box set? But I get I get what you're saying, mate. I get, because I think collectors have all got that little streak of OCD, don't we? We're like, you know, are you a slipcover man? You know, that kind of thing. There's people that just won't buy a film unless it comes. And I'm a wee bit like that. I'm a wee bit like that myself.
John over at Mondo is brilliant. And I swear to God, that's the one thing I love about him. I love how passionate that man is about slipcovers. I really do. Because I said it to him one night. I was talking to him one night in a video, and I was like, what happens if a movie comes out that you love that's out in 4K? Like, you know, a movie like Clockwork Orange, you know, and it didn't come with a slipcover. I was like, what would you do? I just won't buy it. And that's it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I will not buy it. And that's how passionate John is about slipcovers. He's unbelievable. He's amazing. I really love that about him. I do. He's so passionate.
He started getting like these fancy custom ones as well, I've noticed. So he's taken it a step further. So he's going back and retrospectively fitting all these like slipcoverless titles with these new, and some of them are really cool though. So
oh my God,
with them and say some of them are his Last Action Hero one. Did you see that one?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
you sure he rang me? He rang me when he got them through the door. He was that happy about them.
Excited.
And he kind of unboxed it in front of me to show me. And the minute he showed them to me, I went straight over to that fella on Instagram.
Yeah,
inquiring about certain releases. Yeah, what's his name? Jim Jam Movies or something?
I think it's Jam. I might be wrong. I think it's Jam Slips.
Oh, yeah, something. So yeah, it's the one thing I love about John. I love that side of John's collecting. I just love how passionate he is about slipcovers.
Yeah, he's a great guy, John, and a cracking YouTuber as well. But I'll leave a link, folks, if you haven't heard of Model Chairlight Movies. He's a big friend of ours, certainly, like of Keith and I in our channel. So if you haven't heard of it, make sure you check it out. But I'll put a link down there for John as well. Yeah, so we kind of touched on your kind of rules of engagement when it comes to like box sets, Keith, what you're doing, what you won't do. What is your kind of code when it comes to collecting? So to give you some context there, when you say code, like when I say code or rules, like I think everyone has to have a line in the sand and stuff. You know, to give an example, it might be like I don't double dip, or only buy films that have slip covers, or I only pay a certain amount for a box set, or you know, that kind of thing. Have you got any hard and fast rules that you personally like to stick to? I suppose not taking things out of your collector sets, one perhaps, but anything else like that that you live by?
Yeah, I when it comes to me and collecting, I to be honest, I don't have too many codes. I don't have any. There is, like I said earlier, it's the kind of touching of any kind of collector item is a big no-no for me. Not only that, but like any of these collectibles that I do buy, whether it's one clicks or any kind of a bust editions that I have, I always do make sure that I actually have a standard release for them editions as well, so I don't have to literally go near them. You know, it's one of those things that you kind of look, but you don't touch, sort of thing. But in other words, in terms of code, like I don't know, I don't have. Like, there's not a limit. There's not I don't have a spending limit on anything. If it's something I want, I will spend whatever it takes to get it. You know, it's if it's something I desperately want. I am a bit more, if I'm being completely honest, when it comes to a lot of standard releases on 4K, I find myself that I am a little bit more patient now with them. I'm not in a rush to run out now and, you know, buy everything that's. Like, I'll give you a good example. What was the movies? Another 48 Hours, I think. 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy.
A fairly recent one, yeah.
Yeah, so both of them came out in 4K. I really enjoyed the movies. I can't wait to see them on 4K. But I'm more than comfortable waiting to maybe someday get them on sale. I'm okay kind of holding off for the likes of them. When it comes to 4Ks with me nowadays on standard, it's the standard size of 4K. I only pick up what I really want, what I want. It's what I would desperately want to see on 4K. The
Yeah.
rest, I can wait.
So are there films that you maybe own on? So obviously the big kind of popular franchises, or big movies that everyone loves and tend to draw the attraction of Film Arena and Arrow and all that have the box sets. Are there movies that maybe aren't so big that you've got on Blu-ray and you don't watch them all the time, and then they get just a standard 4K release? Would you be comfortable just never upgrading to the 4K, or do you
Yes,
feel the need to always upgrade?
No, that's actually amazing. Because I spoken to you before we actually started doing this video that I literally done a haul video before coming on to you, and in that haul video I showed off Megan, that movie Megan, and Megan never came out on 4K.
That's
and I've spoken to John about this as well. I watched it on my OLED television, and I remember looking at my fiance when we were two of us watching. I was like, "There's no way that 4K can look better than this. Not a chance in the world." So I did say in that video tonight that I said, if Megan does get a 4K release, as much as I enjoyed the movie, there's no way I'm buying it. Not a chance, because there's no way they can improve on it. Absolutely no way they can improve on it. And that's the problem with me of 4K at the moment. 4K is almost getting boring to me when it comes to new movies, the likes of Megan, Top Gun Maverick, because your expectations on it now is just for it to look amazing. Now, where 4K shines for me is on the likes of the Superman movies.
Restorations.
That's where 4K now is shining. That's when a movie almost looks like you're watching it for the first time again. That's where 4K shines. So yeah, there is certain movies now on Blu-ray that I picked up. There's no way, regardless of if they come out in 4K, I'm not going near them.
I would agree with you, and I'm actually thinking about. I'm kind of working on a video talking about Blu-ray and why 1080p Blu-ray and why it shouldn't be overlooked. Like the whole mentality of why would you buy that? Why would you buy a new movie that's also out on 4K on Blu-ray? And I don't want to give away all the talking points of that video, but it's basically what you're saying there. Like, for example, Top Gun Maverick, does it look amazing on 4K? Yeah, but it's a modern movie that's filmed at like 6K or something, and then it's got an amazing Dolby Atmos soundtrack, and then so the source is 6K, and then it's downscaled onto a 1080p Blu-ray, and Blu-ray tech is still amazing, and then you're watching it on a 4K player upscaled to 4K. So the Blu-ray looks absolutely spectacular. So I'm kind of of the opinion now that if it's a film that like isn't that I want to have, but I'm not like, it's not like, I don't think it's the greatest film ever. If you wait 3 months after the release, you'll get the Blu-ray version for like $7.99 in HMV. The 4K will still be $24.99, and there isn't going to be a huge, unless you've got a really high-end TV that can maybe bring out some of the highlights and stuff, like the TV you've got, for example. Yeah, you'll get the specular highlight and stuff, and they don't always put the Atmos on the Blu-ray, but a lot of studios do. So all you're missing out on is the extra resolution, which sometimes isn't even noticeable on a modern transfer, and specular highlight. And not everyone is in the fortunate position like yourself and like me to an extent, where you're sitting there with the flagship best TV.
Yeah.
So when it comes to dynamic contrast and wide spectrum of colour and stuff, not every TV is capable of really showing it. So you might even be better off like with the Blu-ray.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, absolutely. Like, have you noticed that whenever I do a review of a 4K movie, 9 out of 10 times, it's an older movie, because I try to put comparisons into my videos, and even though the comparisons are captured on my camera, thankfully my camera can pick up color very well, so I'm able to show, when HDR is there and when HDR is not there. And I never do it on new movies. I guarantee you now, if I actually took my camera now and knocked on Top Gun Maverick and knocked on the Blu-ray and then knocked on the 4K, I guarantee you there'd be no difference on the footage that I capture. I guarantee you wouldn't see a difference. And that's why I'm leaning towards the older movies when doing reviews. because it's because everyone talked about Top Gun Maverick, and again, not taking anything away from that movie, it looks spectacular on 4K. It really does. But I watched that, and not once did I actually turn around to my fiance and went, "Oh, this actually looks beautiful, doesn't it?" I never once said that in the entire movie. Even when it finished, I was like, "It was a great movie. I loved it." Never talked about the 4K picture. But then when I bought the Superman box set and I started watching Superman 2, all I kept doing during that movie was talking about the picture and how incredible it looked.
How good it looks.
So so I think Blu-ray gets overlooked, and it shouldn't. Particularly on new movies today. Megan, I can't stress it enough. Megan just looks extraordinary. Looks extraordinary on Blu-ray.
Yeah, no, I think we're in the same camp, same mindset with that one.
Yeah.
Just lastly on just being nosy, I want to know this. What I don't think I ever see you buy anything second hand. Do you buy second hand? Like, do you not do that? Is it just not something you're into? Like, it's curious.
Unfortunately, Andy, I just don't have the luxury to buy anything second hand I don't know if I've told you this at all, but I've only physically bought. I think I physically bought 2 4K movies in 5 years.
As in a shop? In a shop?
We have no shops. We have absolutely no shops over here. Absolutely none. We have there's a place called Golden Discs, and if you go in there, chances are a standard 4K release will be around €38, €39. You just wouldn't buy it. And CX over here is an absolute rip-off. Like, if you go to CX and you find a 4K release, chances are you're paying retail on it. Right, it's ludicrous. So yeah, I never buy secondhand because I just simply can't.
Right, okay.
I would love to have the option to do so, but I don't.
I take it when you're like, if you're trying to find an old release, fill a gap in your collection of a out of print collector's edition, you obviously go through like eBay sometimes or whatever secondhand market, like, for stuff like that.
Well, it's funny you kind of said that, because I was actually just I suppose you could say, yeah, I bought Casino, a Film Arena edition of Casino, and that was definitely secondhand. I bought it on eBay. The only thing is, the person that stole it to me was a collector like me, so he really, really looked after it.
Yeah.
So you'd be none the wiser that it was secondhand. But like, yeah, there is times I buy off eBay, and I do buy a lot of secondhand stuff. But a lot of the Film Arena stuff that I have to admit that I do buy off eBay, they all come sealed. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how to do it. These people, they go out and they buy these one-click editions. They keep them sealed.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that with anything.
No, I'm very different. When I get these one-click editions in my hand, I'm kind of like a kid on Christmas morning. I want to rip into that, as quickly as possible. So I have to. That's dedication for you.
I used to collect. I was right into Star Wars. Star Wars was a big thing for me as a kid. Part of like what got me into sci-fi and movies in general. Loved it all. Still like Star Wars, but not like when I was a kid. I was obsessed, and I collected all the toys. Like the Kenner ones, so it'd have been like the 90s ones. They wouldn't have been like the original release. It was like the 90s kind of Kenner editions. And I just couldn't. I knew that like if I kept them in the box, they'd be worth something. But I was like, I want to actually play with them. I want to get them out and mess about. But I remember one year I got a Han Solo that was a double. Someone bought it for my Christmas, and I kept it. And me being so like naive, it was probably the most commonly bought figure Han Solo ever. But me being like a young like kid, naive, not knowing any better, I was like, I'm gonna keep this, and this is gonna be worth tens of thousands. Like, you probably buy it now sealed for like 30 quid or something like that on eBay. But I don't even know what happened to that. But I remember even then, like being like, even though I already had it, I had to fight the urge to like open it just because I wanted to open it, bust it,
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how people do that. I don't know how you can buy something that you love and you're so into and just be happy with it sitting there, never knowing like physically what it's like in hand,
Oh, it's like I've gone very. I wasn't going to mention this in the video but then I realized that I actually showed it on a video there this week. But them one-click editions, that I'm gone that bad with them that, like, I have a plastic case that they sit in, but that wasn't good enough for me. I had to get individual plastic cases for all the editions inside the box. So, so when you actually open the box, you'll see everything is in plastic cases, and then when you put the lid on the box, it goes into a plastic case. So it's I've gone ridiculous with them one-click editions because they're so rare. There's only 300 of them. Each one of them, there's only 300 of each edition. So I go a bit crazy with them. A bit over the top.
It's easy to know it's your passion, isn't it? I mean, you're operating at a high level. Like, as I said, I don't know if I've said it on the video yet, but certainly in the thumbnail and in the description, I've decided to call you a super collector. You're what I would class as a super collector, mate. But no, awesome. So no real code other than your quantity over quality.
Quantity over quality. That's the ultimate code there. I think that's it. I think there's a lot of people out there that just buy just for the sake of buying. I think just buy what you want, buy what you love, and don't be so interested in filling your shelves. Trust me, it's a nightmare. It's a whole new nightmare trying to make space. So don't be in such a rush to fill your shelves.
Kind of talked about your code and everything and how you kind of go about collecting, but if you're watching this, people watching this might be stumbling across it. They might just be tiptoeing into collecting, or they might be, well established, but they're at that stage where they're struggling to manage it and control it themselves. Would you have any kind of tips from years of collecting, mate, for beginners or even veterans, like with regards how to go about it, how to save money, how to curate your collection, for example? You get any kind of tips for?
Yeah, like I said, I think we kind of tipped on it already. Like, I think be patient is definitely one. To a certain level, to be patient. It's all right me saying to be patient. Then I go out and I buy certain collector's editions. But the reason why I do it is because they're so limited. So that decision gets almost taken out of my hand in a way. But I think when it comes to 4K releases, like I tiptoed on this already. Don't be in a rush to go out and buy everything on 4K, particularly movies that you like but you don't love. There's always sales on. There's always sales. 4K never sells out. It never sells out. Blu-rays never sell out. Just be patient and wait for the right time to pick these movies up. And that's all I can really say about it. It's patience. That's the biggest way when it comes to collecting. Again, don't be so quick to, like I'm going back onto this again. Just don't be so quick to fill your shelves. Don't go out, go into CX, go into charity shops and see movies there for 30 cent, 40 cent and buy them just for the sake that they're that price. And then you bring them home just so they can collect dust. It's not a way to build a collection. Build a collection that suits you. That represents you.
Yeah.
And I think you can't go wrong with that. I think that's the best way to collect in my eyes.
I think that's a good point. And that word that you've used there, patience, I think can be used in many ways for collecting. Because I'll be honest, like when I started off, I had a little bit of I know I said at the end of the video, and I still believe that it doesn't matter what you've got. As long as you have a genuine passion and you're into this stuff, you're just starting, you've been doing it, you're like yourself with 10,000. It doesn't matter the number, as long as you enjoy it and whatever you get enjoyment out of whatever you collect, be it DVD, be it VHS, whatever it is. But I think patience is a good point because how long have you been collecting? As we kind of established, you haven't built that collection in a day. Do you know what I mean?
No, 20.
That's been a long
sometimes
journey.
People forget that. It's funny you bring that up, and I kind of like the way you brought that up because people do come over at my channel assuming that this is all not in the last year. It's 27 years of collecting. This is everything is here. I'm not going to say everything behind me is in the last 27 years, but the bulk of my collection is. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes a certain dedication, and so that does happen a lot. I'm not going to lie with my channel where people are like, how do you get a collection like that? And I was like, and you can tell by the way they're asking you. It's like they think it just happened in the last year or two, but it's just not the case. It's just not like there's no way, absolutely no way. It's again patience. Everything is patience with my collection. Everything that you see behind me, it's all patience. I don't pay over the odds for items. I don't care how rare they are. I wait, and I wait for the right time, and I pounce when the time comes along. I'll give you a good example of it. It's up here. Where's my hand? Right here. This Dawn of the Dead bust that I have here.
Uh-huh.
The company that was selling that, ESC editions, they were called in France, and they were selling that bust for €300. Now I got word that it dropped down to 150 once before, and I was like, good, I'll wait then for it to drop down to that again. And rest assured, it dropped down to 120. It did. It actually went under that 150, and that's when I pounced on it. Yeah. So that's what I do a lot. Even with the Film Arena editions that I'm buying now, I don't pay over the odds for them. I really don't. I do be very, very patient. If there's one there that's too dear, trust me when I say this, and just going by experience, especially with eBay, another one will come along, and it will be cheaper. I promise you. No matter how rare the item is, I guarantee you, it will come along cheaper somewhere along the line, or somewhere down the line.
Yeah, because I've done that. Well, like I kind of collect Mega Drive games, which I haven't. I've got a small collection, but I've started doing Mega Drive games as well. I've not really featured in the channel, but I might in the future. But yeah, I do that sometimes. I see I like collecting the complete editions with the manuals and stuff, and I like the cartridges to be reasonably good nick in the box. And then I see one that's like a great example, and it's like a good price, and I hum and a haw, and I maybe make an offer, and it gets rejected, and then I manage to have some willpower, and I say no, I'm not going to, and then it sells out, and then I feel sad because I'm like, oh, I'm never going to see that again. Like I've blown my chance to get, and then like you say, you forget about it, and then 2 months later you're like, boom, it's almost an identical one, and you're like, I was silly to think that, So I kind of.
It's an absolute fact. As a matter of fact, I actually only just done it recently. I literally shot a video just 2 days ago of my Film Arena edition that I got for Casino. And I actually do say it in the video that I came across this seller on eBay, and it's great when you come across a seller that you can trust. And this fella just doesn't negotiate. It's amazing. Like you give him an offer, he just accepts. So the casino edition, he had it for €100. He was selling at the casino for €100, and I was like, and I just put this cheeky bid of €60 in, thinking that we go back and forward.
Get to 80 or something.
Yeah, get it to 80. And then all of a sudden, within 5 minutes of me putting in the €60 offer, accept it. And he has, this seller that I'm talking about, at least 50% of my Film Arena editions is because of this chap. And all that. He must have been selling his stock off. And I think I bought nearly everything off him. And every single one of them, I make an offer. And he just accepts, regardless of how ludicrous the offer is I make to him. He accepts. I actually got a one-click edition. I actually got a one-click edition off him where I took 100 off his asking price, and he accepted it. So it's just
maybe he's
I don't know.
Maybe he's a secret secret subscriber and admirer of the channel, and he's worked out that he's actually selling to you, so that's why he's giving you them like so discounted. But I want that guy's name. I want that seller's name after this.
I actually try to be very nice with them. I because he doesn't put the option. That's the thing. When you go onto his eBay page, he doesn't. The option is not there to make an offer. I actually just I contact them, and I make an offer through the contact through the message section, and he just accepts it. And then within 5 minutes, he'll change the. So and that's the way it's worked out. And then we start chatting to each other every now and again. We'll come back, and you can clearly see that he's translating everything that I'm saying because he's German and he can't speak English. And he just comes across as this real nice lad. And I try to be as polite as I can be. And maybe he just likes me, and that's why he's doing it. But
because if you're buying from him all the time, there's maybe a bit of that, a bit of like customer loyalty almost, where he's like, he sees the username and he knows that you're good for the money and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think he knows that once he, because I do it all the time. Once he accepts my price, I instantly buy it. There's no waiting around. He knows that he's getting his money very quickly. So
Yeah.
maybe he does like that. I'm hoping that it's not, the thought of him selling his collection off because he has to
Yeah.
wouldn't sit well with me. I wouldn't like that now, but I would never ask him either. I hope he's not selling his collection because he has to, because he has financial troubles or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I would feel actually lousy about that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm hoping that maybe he just likes me, and that's why he's doing it.
At the end of the day, he doesn't have to accept it. So,
Yeah, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
I wouldn't feel too bad about it, mate. But
No.
no, but that's
Well,
that's.
it's very easy to get over when you get it in your hands.
You're not worrying too much about it there, are you? So you've obviously got a lot of discs, Keith, and like God knows, I'm going to put you in the spot here and ask you for a recommendation of your favourite demo, but you've got plenty to choose from. But what's the disc that goes on your machine a lot? Like, say you've obviously got a good setup there. Anyone that's interested can see it in the description on. In fact, I might even put it in this in case you're interested in what both of us watch what movies on. So in fact, I will put that in the description. But Keith's got a cracking, one of the best OLEDs on the market, cracking soundbar. So when you want to show that off, because I do that sometimes I'm just like, I just want to remind myself how lucky I am with this setup, so I'll put on the disc that looks and sounds the best. I'm sure you would probably do the same. What's your disc? What disc you put on?
Oh God, I'm not sure how people are going to react to this one. But I'm going to say it because it's true. It's a movie called Hellfest.
Right, okay. I've never even heard of it.
You never heard of it? I can't stress it. The setting of the movie is just extraordinary. But the reason why it's my go-to disc is because I honestly think it's one of the best looking 4K transfers I've ever seen. In terms of, and I'm me talking about, knocking on new movies and how I don't get surprised with them. But Hellfest is the exception to the rule.
All right,
where
okay.
it's that kind of movie where it's just everything that I love about 4K is just firing in all cylinders. Whether it's the 4K resolution, which is so unbelievably evident when you watch this movie. It is definitely the most colorful horror movie you will ever see, and it's because of the setting of this movie, because it's held in a kind of a horror theme park.
All right, okay.
And every color you can think of, you will see in this movie. And the Dolby Vision just shines through with each color. And then the blacks, when you see the contrast between them colors and the blacks, it's unlike anything I have ever seen when it comes to 4K. And here's the kicker. The movie is a 2K upscale. It's not even a native 4K disc.
All right.
And I'm not kidding you. If you see it, and John Clancy, John Perry, I know he's going to be watching this. But he's going to be nodding his head because he went out and bought that movie because of me talking about it so much. And not only that, but then when you hear the DTSX audio on it as well, it's such a fun mix on it. The channels just play with you. It just takes you in. It's Tony Todd is in that movie. The weird thing is Tony Todd is in the movie, but you only see him for around 4 minutes. But he's so heavily featured in the movie, you can actually hear his voice so much in this theme park. And you'll be watching the movie, and all of a sudden you'll be coming out of one speaker to the right of you. All of a sudden he'll be on the left. All of a sudden he'll be above you. And it never lets up. The movie never lets up in audio. There's always sound coming out of somewhere. And I still think horror is my go-to franchise when it comes to 4K, particularly with audio. I think audio is it can be just so playful. It can be.
That's something yeah. See, I totally get that as well. I say that to my wife sometimes. I say, and my mate that he likes horror and he comes round here and we watch stuff around here and he loves coming round and enjoying the setup and that. And I say that to him. I was like, I know that this having an immersive setup and all that, it must be amazing watching horror because like that's what the mixes are for. They'll give you a fright. It'll be it's immersive. It's like. It's going to give you proper sales because I'm such a big theatre. I never actually like use my system for that. But if you're telling me that this film Hellfest is like a demo for picture quality and audio, then that might just be enough to make me actually sit through it.
I think you know what, and I know you're not a fan of horror, but I think you'll get away with this one.
Right, okay.
I think you'll get away with this one. There's a huge build up to this. it is a slasher movie. It's held in a theme park, a horror theme park. You know, it's one of those things, kind of like Halloween. You know, the killer is slowly and slowly getting closer and closer to them as the movie goes on, and then all of a sudden the killings will start. You know,
Yeah.
if they don't rush into it, they know it's not one of these movies that it's like, oh, there's a death every 5 minutes in this movie. It's absolutely not like that. It's just like Halloween. It builds up that suspense. But like I said, it's the setting of the movie that's key. It's what makes it beautiful. What makes it look beautiful, and why it sounds amazing. It just doesn't let up. It's my go-to disc.
Right. Okay. You know, I'm so glad you've said that because it's quite left field. I think anyway. I've never even heard of it. You're expecting people to say, you know, maybe be quick, Top Gun Maverick or June or Blade Runner 2049. You know, these are all great discs, but like, so I think that's great for people, especially if you're into horror. That you've given quite a left. I'm definitely going to check that one out. So I'll put a wee link in the description as well, folks, for Hellfest. But no, that's awesome, mate. We're kind of coming to the end of our kind of prearranged time. Nothing to do with the fact that I'm running out of battery in my phone, of course. but yeah, we'll kind of wrap up there, mate. But just before you go, what can people? So just to kind of remind them, where can they find you, and what can they expect in the next month or so on your channel?
Well, yeah. So, like I said, my channel's name is Euphoria Pictures. As in, what you can expect from me, I've actually shot a lot of videos. I'm covered for the next maybe week or two, and I have some incredible additions coming up. I have videos for Casino, Film Arena edition of Casino. I have one for Tenet coming up as well. The Casino one, I've actually reviewed the 4K picture of Casino on that video as well, which was absolutely mind-blowing. And then I have some firsts coming up for my collection as well. I have a movie coming through the door, and I'm hoping to have a video out next week for a movie called Witchboard. And this edition comes with a Ouija board. So it's going to be the first time I ever have a Ouija board in my collection. But yeah, it's a lovely piece. It's again, I was made aware of it there by a friend a couple of days ago. I instantly bought it, and rest assured, when I get through the door, it's a movie I love, and I'll be doing a video on that. So there's a lot of rare items coming in my channel in the next couple of weeks. So it's a good time to come over to me.
Definitely, it's always a good time to come over. So, like I say, folks, links on the description for Keith, and you see on the ticker tape there. You can follow him on Instagram also, but you'll not be disappointed. Huge back catalogue, a fantastic collection, and if you've not already picked up a very cheery and enthusiastic physical media collector here, and Keith. But no, Keith, I'd just like to thank you, mate. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting with you. I know we're going to continue having a little chat and talk shop about YouTube and stuff after this. So, folks, I really hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sure Keith and I will maybe do a live version of this. Would you be up for that, Keith? In future or something?
Absolutely.
We just thought we'd try this, and I'll be having more guests on like Keith. But Keith, you've been a brilliant guest to kick off. So thanks very much for coming over, mate.
Oh my God! Thank you for having me, Andy. It was a pleasure.
No, not at all, mate. The pleasure was all mine. But that's us, folks. That's it for this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, give it a wee like, comment down below. We'll get back to you, and of course, follow Keith. But that's all for this one. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from
me.
Right, okay. See you next time, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Well, folks, that brings to a conclusion my chat with Keith, and I'm sure you could probably tell in the video I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think Keith did as well. I thought he gave a cracking insight into why people like Keith and I love collecting physical media, and why it will probably never die as long as people like us are around. And I think he also gave some great tips on how to build a collection. You know, that one about staying patient, I think that's massive. It's easy to see people's huge collections and just think that that's been bought overnight. Of course, it's been a lifestyle, you know. In Keith's case, nearly 30 years of collecting. Dedicated collecting, being consistent, and, you know, being pretty thrifty and sensible with how he spends his money to get that collection also. It's about prioritising. In Keith's case, it's quality over quantity. So just another quick thank you to Keith for coming on. It was fantastic to speak with you, mate, and hopefully we'll do that live chat in the near future. But this video is a kind of new style for me. I have done live streams, but I haven't done kind of pre-recorded ones before, so I'm going to play around with that format, and this kind of marks the beginning of a series. So I have some other interesting guests lined up, and the best way to kind of keep ahead of that and find out who I'm going to be speaking to next is, of course, by subscribing to the channel. So down in the description, you'll see the subscription button and the notification bell. Just rattle that on and you'll be able to keep up to date with what's happening on my channel when the videos will drop. But more importantly, of course, if you haven't came across Keith's channel before, make sure you go over there. If you're into all this stuff, there's plenty to enjoy, and I'm sure you'll enjoy Keith's channel, especially if you like the content that I put out. And finally, you'll find down in the description links to the kind of relevant things that we spoke about. So you'll find down there our setups that we use to review our movies and enjoy our 4Ks in the home, as well as links to some of the movies that were mentioned during the discussion. But that's all I've got for you in this one. I've been Andy Electric Geek. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.